The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Welcome back onto the Morning Majlis, and we continue the talk about vaccines, the vaccine drive here in the UAE. Now, for now, we know that we have 4 vaccines. They have been approved for the use in the UAE. We have the Chinese Sinopharm, we have the Pfizer-BioNTech, we have the Sputnik 5, and also the AstraZeneca. And earlier on, we talked about the differences and how each one of them work. But one main problem that occurs or has been occurring with a lot of people that have been inoculated or been getting the first jab, they've been testing or they've been getting symptoms of COVID-19 after their first dose of the vaccine, any of those vaccines, really, not just one specific one. A lot of people have been concerned, and they've been asking questions. Why am I getting infected? What do I do next? Is this common? Is this not? So Dr. Farida Al-Hosani, the official spokesperson for the UAE health sector, answered all those questions and relayed the plan of what to do if you get infected after the first dose. So a person who gets infected with COVID-19 after taking the first dose of the vaccine can take the second shot after complete recovery. That is according to the officials of the UAE's Ministry of Health and Prevention. Now, Dr. Farida said that for people who have been infected after taking the first dose, and in case of asymptomatic or minor symptoms, we advise them to complete the second dose after full recovery. Now, if the individual's symptoms are moderate or severe and require hospitalization, to go to a hospital, the patient is advised to consult a doctor. Now, the doctor will perform the necessary immunity test to determine whether a second dose is needed or not. But most of the COVID infections among vaccinated individuals, they happen after the first dose and due to exposure to the virus in the community. And this is happening before the formation of sufficient immunity within body, which is expected to be reached at least 2 weeks after the second dose. That's very important. That's the most important sense here, is that after the second dose, you are expected to reach full immunity after about 2 weeks. Not the first one, the second one.
Yeah, certainly. And experts are currently working to learn more about both natural immunity and vaccine-induced immunity as well, the important aspects of the COVID-19 vaccination. And another question that they've been answering as well is, if someone's already had COVID-19 and recovered, do they still need to get vaccinated? And the answer to that is yes. COVID-19 has severe health risks associated with it. And even if you've had COVID-19, reinfection with COVID-19 is possible because your immunity wanes over time. So you should be vaccinated regardless of whether you've had the COVID-19 infection in the past or not. Experts do not yet know how long someone is protected from getting sick again after recovering from COVID-19. The natural immunity and its duration varies from person to person. While it's rare for someone who's had COVID-19 to get infected again in the short term, it has happened, and it has happened within 90 days as well from their recovery in the past. So answers are still unclear. Scientists are still trying to gauge just how long the immunity produced by vaccination lasts. But the fact that COVID-19 in and of itself has severe health risks means we have to do our part and do what we can and try to maximize the body's protection against this as we buy more time and scientists try and figure this thing out more.
Yep. As of 16th of February, the Ministry of Health and Prevention has administered over 5.19 million vaccine doses. So that is a plus to take back, and the country's rate of doses per 100 people stands at 52.56. So it is a huge number, and we're very, very proud of this. Now, the big question is, after taking the vaccine, how long does my immunity last? That is a common question that the Ministry of Health and Prevention receives. And they've said, we don't know. It all depends person to person. So they can't determine yet how long the protection from the vaccine or protection of the vaccine will apply. And this goes to all of the vaccines, regardless of the percentage. With 86% efficacy of Sinopharm, 90% of Pfizer. But researchers found that
about 3 to 4 months. Most of them, they're saying that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they're saying
but it
that
varies from person to person for sure.
Definitely.
it does, and the level of antibodies can decrease over months. That's the reason why they're saying it. But they're saying something to slightly keep you motivated is memory cells in your body. The memory cells may retain the COVID-19 information for long periods. That means it could be even years. So you should be okay. There's nothing to be really worried about. And these cells can remember the pathogen if the infection is encountered again. And a lot of people do these antibody tests from time to time to understand and figure out what is in them. And the tests have also indicated that these antibodies are able to identify the mutated strains as well. So don't worry too much. And can you get the second dose if you've contracted the COVID-19 after your first dose? Yes, you can. 2 weeks. 2 weeks is what the government has clarified now. So that should be... Well, that should come across as good news. But that's the generic breakdown of the COVID-19 scenario for most of our listeners today. And if you would like to add to it, then do get involved on the text lines.
Absolutely. And one question we've also been getting is on the safety of the vaccines. And this one thing is definitely important to mention is the fact that these vaccines have gone through rigorous studies around the world, large clinical trials, and rigorous safety criteria being implemented across the board. So the efficacy has been established, the safety has also been established as well, and it is safe to get the COVID-19 vaccine. And we've had someone, in fact, from G42 on our Morning Majlis podcast that you can view on Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple Podcast, talk about precisely that as well. But the general sentiment is, yes, those COVID-19 vaccines have gone through so many studies and clinical trials in many countries around the world, and the safety track record has already been established. And you have a higher risk if you choose not to take the vaccine and risk getting COVID-19. So that needs to be stated.
And it's really important for us to maintain social distancing and wearing the masks because we need to reach herd immunity regardless of the vaccine or you already got COVID-19 before or not. This is a must.
Definitely.
Well, so it's lots to take back from the crew here from the Morning Majlis. We'll certainly keep you posted about this. And if you'd like to catch most of our discussions here on the show, then do get involved on the social media handles of Pulse 95 Radio and also on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. Search for Morning Majlis, subscribe and share away. Time now for us to take a bit of a break, and the big question of the day is how far is Bitcoin going to go and what's happening with Bitcoin. So let's talk about that. Take a bit of a short break and we shall be returning right after some musical entertainment. You're listening to the Morning Majlis on Pulse 95.
Stocks, docks and barrels. This morning's big business recap.
Very sad. It's very, very sad because a lot of people were thinking, oh yeah, the big burst has happened, the Bitcoin has come crashing down, it's going to go crash down further. But no, it was not the case, and Bitcoin has been climbing. It rose above $50,000 mark yesterday for the first time, and what the international media describes it as is adding steam to a rally fueled by signs that the world's biggest cryptocurrency is gaining acceptance among mainstream investors and companies. Now, one person I'd like to blame for that is Mr. Elon Musk, especially when he said, oh, we're going to be okay accepting Bitcoin as a transaction for your Tesla cars. And that got everyone thinking, oh my God, let's buy it right now, because it certainly is a commodity or a digital currency that is giving me a massive boost without me doing much. But that's the case at the moment, and Bitcoin certainly back in the discussions at conference tables and even living rooms.
Yeah, indeed. It's a moment that we could describe as a euphoria for cryptocurrencies. I mean, earlier this month, the value of all cryptocurrencies skyrocketed above $1 trillion. And the number of people who are using Bitcoin is on the up, and major players are getting involved, and that's been attributed as the reason why Bitcoin's been seeing such a rise as of late. We've seen, for instance, how PayPal has joined other consumer apps that allow users to buy, hold, and sell currencies. And some of the biggest hedge fund operators in the world have also put their money into a new market in a sign that they increasingly view crypto as an asset like gold. It's also become a lot easier to buy and trade stocks and cryptocurrencies overall, and with the simplicity and ease of access that we're seeing more and more of these days, it's become a lot easier to join in on the action, and that's been also cited as another reason why cryptos have been on the up. But nobody saw this coming back in 2009 when cryptocurrencies began appearing after someone known as Satoshi Nakamoto, whose real identity has never been revealed, released the rules and software for Bitcoin. And at the time, it was dismissed as this unregulated, shady currency that wouldn't really see steam and was more of a speculative bubble. But over time, investors became more invested in Bitcoin, no pun intended, and we've seen it on the up as well. And aside from the hedge fund operators I've noted, we've got Jack Dorsey, for instance, the chief executive of Twitter, and Square. Square invested $50 million in Bitcoin late last year, and Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, his profile says hashtag Bitcoin as well. Also, other notable investors have joined the party here, and everyone's pretty much stoked about the potential for cryptocurrencies. And the question now is just how far up is this going to go by the end of this year?
So this is my attempt of trying to talk you out of investing in Bitcoin. So whoever doesn't want to take risks is not a risk taker like me. You're going to like what I'm going to say. I mean, Bitcoin, it's an incredibly volatile investment. It has seen an impressive upward trend over the past several months, but nobody knows how long that will last. It has experienced wild price fluctuations in the past, sometimes losing up to 80% of its value. And it's important to note what happened back in 2017. And between 2017 and 2019, for example, it jumped from around $1,000 to more than $17,000 before it plummeted back to around $3,000. So, yeah, it's true. All investments, they're subject to short-term volatility, but Bitcoin in particular has experienced extreme levels of turbulence. In addition to that, it's unclear whether Bitcoin really is as game-changing as its proponents claim. Some supporters believe the cryptocurrency will become the future of global transactions. Just like we saw with Elon Musk, this is like the first step. But right now, only around 2,300 U.S. businesses accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. Without a widespread adoption, it will be tough for Bitcoin to survive. So, its future makes it kind of it's even riskier investment. It could end up changing the world, yes, but it could just as easily crash and burn. So we have to think twice before investing in it. It may be gaining popularity right now, but that alone doesn't make it a smart investment. Before you invest any money, think about your tolerance for risk. If you have money to burn and you're willing to risk it, it may be worth the gamble. But for most investors, I believe it's best to steer away from or steer clear of Bitcoin for now.
But I think some people view it not as just a burning thing either, because there could be some people could say, you know what, we don't mind about the volatility, especially the person who has been preaching the world of Bitcoin. These Bitcoin followers and preachers really love the cryptocurrency, the digital currency so much that they don't think short term, think long term, because investors had predicted, in fact, $50,000 a Bitcoin at the start of, or the end of December, to be honest. But now people are saying it might reach $150,000, could reach a lot more, It's all based on expectations. And I think these investors are aiming for that, is because at the moment, the UK pound gaining strength, always another key indicator of things how things are shifting, and also with the stimulus package coming in, the concerns of an inflation. So that's why these institutional investors have been moving towards.
But would you invest all your money in it?
Bitcoin? I wouldn't say I would invest all my money in it. I said that if I had the chance, if I had the clarity and the guarantee that I could eventually withdraw my cash from those apps that do sell Bitcoin, then I would think about investing a significant percentage. But because there's a bit of an uncertainty of how I can liquidate that investment, that's kept me very tight-lipped and my fingers very crossed at the time, for the time being.
Yeah, and there's this increasing view as well that Bitcoin's not just a currency, it's more of an asset like gold. And it is scarce. There are only 21 million possible Bitcoins that can exist ever, not more than that. And if anything, I mean, I wouldn't give any investment advice, but I think we're at a different era now where if you talked about Bitcoin in 2010, people would give you really odd stares. Now you have the richest man in the world talking about it. MasterCard joining on it. Morgan Stanley considering placing its bets on Bitcoin as well. It's an entirely different atmosphere.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a normalization of discussions about Bitcoin. I think that's going to help fuel its sentiment and value. But let's see what happens. But so far, the big story is it did cross the $50,000 a Bitcoin mark yesterday, and so much more could happen with it as well. So only time will tell. But what will time tell us is get ready for the world of business news on Pulse 95. So we'll take a bit of a short break right now and then move on to the world of business news, courtesy of Hani Balkis. And we shall return right after that here on the Morning Majlis.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the program. And going over to Poland, under the directives of His Highness Sheikh Dr. Sultan bin Muhammad Al Qasmi, Supreme Council member and ruler of Sharjah, a new mosque has been inaugurated in the country. Khalid bin Sultan Al Qasmi Mosque, named after His Highness the ruler of Sharjah's son, may his soul rest in peace, is the second largest mosque in the country after being renovated under the guidance of His Highness the ruler of Sharjah. A number of dignitaries and religious figures attended the inauguration ceremony. And what an incredible mosque. The photos are a sight to behold.
Yeah, it certainly is a wonderful new feature for us and a wonderful milestone for the Emirate of Sharjah as well. And we've been working on a number of mosques across the globe anyway. But coming back to Poland, they recently held a forum, investment opportunities for Polish companies in Sharjah, and they had this webinar to bolster trade ties and investment cooperation, and also exploring economic partnerships with entrepreneurs. So we can see how showcasing these opportunities for Polish businessmen has been quite has been at the focus for the time being. It was the first ever Sharjah Poland webinar, gained insight into the competitive advantages of Sharjah's highly diversified economy. But coming back to the idea of mosques, we've had this wonderful new opening in Poland, and I myself have been to Warsaw and even to Krakow, and I've seen how there are certain mosques in the country as well that do stand very out there as well. So, it's really good news to see what's happening and how Sharjah has been working towards promoting and building mosques across the globe. Because Rania, Sharjah Charity International has been quite active over the years, particularly between 2015 and 2020.
That's right. Sharjah Charitable International has actually reported that it built 6,979 mosques from the years 2015 until the end of 2020 at a value of $90 million. The project, which covers many countries around the world, has been implemented in coordination with the Red Crescent Authority, UAE embassies, and also the regional SCI offices in the country. countries. Also, the chairman of the SCI stated that the mosque building project is one of the greatest charitable projects that open the door for philanthropists to participate and also contribute to the construction of mosques. He further said that the SCI is keen to choose remote areas that lack service facilities as the project aims to facilitate the provision of mosques in various countries as well. But looking at the mosques that we have here in the country, what is, let's say, your favorite mosque?
Trying to think. I was very much amazed by the Sharjah Mosque for sure. That
You
had.
were, I remember.
Yeah, we did. I had to make a video about it. Really, it was a very, very a massive spectacle, really. A brilliant mosque to be visiting, and it's just such a great atmosphere over there, and the location is brilliant. The parking is number one for me, really, whenever I go to mosques. It is the largest mosque in the Emirates. It was inaugurated last year, 2 years ago, in fact, by His Highness Dr. Sheikh Sultan bin Mohammed Al Qasimi, Supreme Council member and ruler of Sharjah, and it can accommodate about 25,000 worshippers. But looking across the globe, or across the country, there's some really, really old mosques, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. And so many mosques to go over, particularly here in the Emirate of Sharjah, which has no less than 600 mosques.
No way.
Yeah, that's
600 in Sharjah only?
Sharjah only.
Wow.
A lot of mosques here in the Emirate, and it's been designated the capital of Islamic culture
Obviously,
in 2014
yeah.
after all. But one mosque that stands out to me here in the Emirate is An-Noor Mosque on Buhaira Corniche.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite.
It's incredible, just incredible. All these domes in there. So an architectural marvel. It was opened in 2005, located in the banks of Khalid Lagoon, and one of the most picturesque and iconic structures here in the Emirate of Sharjah, with a capacity to hold 2,200 people, and has a separate women's section as well. And stories say that during the holy month of Ramadan, worshippers come from all around the world, even as far as Morocco and Algeria, to pay their respects as well.
And of course, we cannot talk about mosques without mentioning Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque, undoubtedly the greatest and the grandest of mosques in the UAE. The impressive Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi is definitely a must-see for first-timers, especially to the country. It's the realization of a dream by the visionary leader, the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. The mosque is definitely a remarkable structure that it can accommodate up to 41,000 visitors. And it was actually opened to worshippers back in 2007. Design influences and materials were sourced from so many different countries: Morocco, France, Germany, China, and other countries as well. Has 82 domes, 4 minarets. The white marble exterior is grand. And the outer shell of the main dome is the largest in the world, while the white marble columns in the courtyard are adorned with amethyst and also lapis lazuli. So it's incredible. The infrastructure of it, the look of it, the interior and the exterior of it is just incredible. And the size, and
Definitely, yeah.
it's grand.
My favorite mosque now, it shouldn't come as a surprise. It is a 200-year-old mosque that you find at the back of the 5 dirham note, as we can see over here.
There we go.
And it is in my self-proclaimed hometown of Khorfakan. And it is called the Salim Al-Mutawwa Mosque. It was built 200 years ago, and it's such a wonderful place. And if you do explore the Khorfakan heritage area, you can go check it out as well. It's over there, and just very close to the Corniche area of the Khorfakan coast. So if you do plan on going down, do pay a visit to the Salim Al-Mutawwa Mosque. It's on the 5 dirham note. And the front of the 5 dirham note, you see the central souk. So very, very ideal.
Brilliant.
And 5 dirhams does get you a lot in Khorfakan, got to tell you that. Got to go, and it is something to explore and add to your diary for sure. But let us know on the text lines 4215 which mosque in the UAE has caught your attention? Because a lot of people say the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque, the Sharjah Mosque, because of its larger architecture, and even the Umar bin al-Khattab Mosque in Dubai. But if there's any unique mosque that you've frequented, or even your own mosque in your neighborhood that you've been visiting, and if there's any that really is is always on the top of your memory, and some wonderful memories that you may have of visiting it, then do let us know on the text lines 4215. For the time being, it's now time for us to take a bit of a break, and when we do return, we will be talking about another outbreak warning that the World Health Organization has issued. What's going on? All of this will be discussed right here on the Morning Majlis.
This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Everybody, good morning. Welcome back to the program, and join us on the text lines for this discussion. We'd like to hear your input. The text line is 4215, and we're talking about the practice of fake reviews on e-commerce websites. And that's because a consumer group called Which said that fake reviews for Amazon Marketplace are being sold in bulk for as little as £5 each. The consumer group says it found 10 websites offering the fake review service that can be bought by third-party sellers who use Amazon services. And even though the practice is firmly against Amazon's terms and conditions, the consumer group found that it was quite prevalent, alarmingly so.
Well, I've seen that Amazon also does the verified purchase thing based on each review that's at the bottom. So I wonder how that works as well. But looking at it, there's so many companies that offer the bought likes, bought views, bought comments as well. And one thing is, a lot of these people are now saying how to spot these fake online reviews. And I think most of us always remain a bit skeptical and take everything with a pinch of salt.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And talking about the loyalty schemes here, these included packages of fake reviews available for sellers to buy for about £15 individually, as well as bulk packages starting at £620 for 50 reviews and going up to £8,000 for 1,000 reviews. The group also suggested that 5 of the businesses it looked at had more than 702,000 product reviewers on their books. Now, product reviewers are basically offered small payments ranging from a few pounds up to more than £10 alongside free or discounted products. And they can even take part in loyalty schemes and earn themselves premium goods, from children's toys to exercise equipment and so on. And the websites, which... All right. They reviewed also offered advice on how to write reviews so as not to arouse Amazon's suspicion, and in some cases had criteria for reviewers to meet to qualify for rewards. They even included leaving reviews that were at least 2 sentences long, or including photos, for example.
Yeah, that's definitely important as well. And even though websites like Amazon and Google, they do their due diligence in cracking down on fake reviews, the system cannot be ironclad. For instance, if I were to write my first review ever, there's no way Amazon can tell if I'm authentic or not. So at the end of the day, the consumer has to do their homework and sort of look for signs on whether or not the review they're reading is legitimate. The one thing I like to do is click the viewer's profile and see how many reviews they've written. From my experience, and this is something that people say,
It's so helpful. Oh my God.
Yeah, for instance, if you're looking at a restaurant, say on Zomato, and there are 10 reviews.
And that's your specialty.
Yeah, there we go, yeah. You just revealed it right there. But let's say all of them, they published reviews within the same time, and each user only has 1 review in their profile, and
That's
they're all
legit.
praising the restaurant. Something is a little fishy. So typically I look for people who have a lot of reviews on their profile, who have an established history on the website. Look at the date of the review, check out the other reviews they've written, and sort of just wading through that cautiously. A lot of times as well, and
Your instinct will lead you to it.
I also like to filter it to negative reviews first, because you're more likely to find honest negative reviews than truthful positive ones, just because of the sheer bulk of fake positive reviews out there.
Yeah.
So you see the criticism, you you feel out the product, you see the number of reviews, and you make an informed decision based on that. But certainly, you can't just look at the number of stars and the number of reviews and say, oh yeah, this is legit. You got to go through everything one by one. Just take a bit of a look before making up your mind on whether to buy something or not. That's how I approach it.
This is so helpful. But besides the great pointers that you just gave us, this article is saying how to spot fake online reviews. They're saying you have to be skeptical. This is probably your best weapon, especially if there is a usually higher number of reviews of one product compared with others in that category. Read and read again. That's what they're saying. Look for the same language used in multiple reviews.
Yeah.
That's also another sign. Also, brands you don't know. If you don't recognize the brand, check to see if it has its own legitimate looking website with clear contact details. And last but not least, be wary of products with lots of pictures or videos. Sellers, they can give money to fake reviewers to encourage people to add photos and videos. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to choosing which hotel to stay at, or even restaurants or whatever, do you guys, what influences your decision?
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth?
Yeah,
For sure.
It's
and
a lot,
pictures, really good pictures.
definitely a lot of things at once. Pictures are important.
Yeah.
I think for me, the most important aspect of whatever destination I go to is service. I'd like to know that they have good service.
Right.
And that's something you can sniff out pretty quickly when you read the negative reviews as well. You can get a sense of what it's like to be at a particular establishment. To me, like, if the service is bad and the food is great, then I had a bad experience. You have to have good service no matter where you go. So that's something I always look out for in reviews. I try to find the legitimate ones, people who don't just have one review on their profile. And I just like to make sure that I'm going to a place where they serve the customer pretty well.
That's absolutely true. It's a great point as well. But for me personally,
Yeah.
service, it varies from one person to another. From my point of view,
For
I
sure.
might be wrong. It varies from one person to another. And also, for example, if I want to go to a restaurant, like the other day, one of my friends, I was telling them I want to go to this restaurant, whatever it is, without mentioning the name.
Yeah.
And I told them I want to go to this restaurant. They told me they have the worst service. Don't go. And did you read the reviews? That's what they said. Did you read the reviews about this restaurant? And I said, why? It's great. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody wants to go. It's picturesque kind of a restaurant. It's Insta friendly. They said, but the service is really bad.
Right.
Because I experienced this, my friend experienced this, and all of that. I took the risk. I went to the restaurant. I experienced the best service. I didn't see any of that. So I realized that it differs probably from one waiter to another, from one customer to another, from one situation to another. And plus, maybe to me, that service is good, to her that service is
Exactly.
bad. So it really varies.
But I think a good establishment does not discriminate.
Yeah.
So overall, you'll find that places that are consistently have good service and they think the customer's always right and such,
Yeah.
and they go out of their way to do
Right.
it, they have a special presence and people gravitate
That's right.
towards those places. But that's definitely worth noting, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, what influences the decision on applying for the service and even and get it is one thing. If it ain't on Faza, not happening.
My God.
Not happening at all.
You
That
are
is
building
so
up
true.
to this.
He's
yeah.
not lying about that. He's obsessed with Fazza
If
restaurants.
it ain't on my discount app, I'm not going. You know,
Mr.
that's
Faza.
That is so true.
that's
Fazza
how it
leads
stands.
his way. Leads his
Because
decision making.
it's only good places that are on it, you know. And it's like I like to use this because when I go to places like, let's say for example, Al Ain or some place I've never been and I don't live in, I refer to my guidance and it
Yeah.
tells me where to go and go check it out, and I do it. It's fine.
It's your tour guide.
It's my tour
I love
guide.
how when in the break we discuss things, me, Ahmed, and Abdul Karim, and for example we talk about what we did during the weekend. And I say, for example, to Abdul Karim, I went to this place. The first question he asked me, does it take Fazza? He doesn't care if it's nice or not. He just cares, does it take Fazza? That was his first question.
All that
It
matters.
just happens. It's okay. But yeah, that's what it is. And do let us know on the text line 4215 what you think is good for you and how you are influenced by acquiring a certain service. Get involved on the text lines 4215. We'll take a break.
We're gonna talk about a place that we can go to. We don't need Fazza.
Oh, no.
We don't need Fazza. It's free.
Oh, there
to
we
go
go.
to.
There we go. Well,
Up next.
Up next here on the Morning Majlis.
If you liked this episode of The Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse.